Welcome, you're watching Kaleidoscope Selling Life News Capsule. Global trade today is marked by volatility, shifting power dynamics and rising protectionism, challenging traditional export models. Small and medium enterprises, SMEs, play a crucial role in sustaining global supply chains, contributing over 40% to international trade in many economies. In Sri Lanka, SMEs make up for over 75% of all businesses and account for nearly 20% of total exports. As trade routes shift and geopolitical pressures mount, corporate finance and private equity strategist Saminda Weerasinghe discusses how SMEs should navigate stormy waters. Given the current trade scenarios, we've been almost concentrating on the bigger exporters, but there's a huge number and a huge collective of SME exporters. What do they need to be prepared for in this scenario at the moment?
If you look at the trade landscape, world trade landscape currently, you would see few things which are evidently seen. I mean, we can see very clearly. One, the tariffs that were imposed by the US. I mean, if it really gets implemented, the prediction is that there might be even a recessionary impact that comes into play. Then after that, we see there's a GSP plus issue. The European nations are looking at the PTA and the amendment of the PTA going forward, and then still there's a bit of cloud looming over that. Then moving from there, we see China as a superpower emerging, and it had been the case for the last so many decades. I think if you see the cycles of the empires moving up and down, starting from the 1500 AD, where the Dutch, the UK, then the British, then there was US, and then we see another party coming in, right? So every time we see empires taking over, so to say, you would see uncertainty in terms of trade, in terms of war. You would see India is a reckoning nation, economy, large economy growing, predicted to go 6% for the next 2 years, which is our neighbor, taking over Southeast Asian region. Countries coming up in the Eastern European bloc who are now growing as manufacturing economies. Wars in pockets here and there, the Ukraine issue, the Middle Eastern issue. The exporters predominantly are looking at an external market, right? So they are open to multiple vagaries on the macro side of things.
What challenges would SME exporters encounter and be prepared for?
So if you look at the larger boys on the export side of things, big league boys in Lanka, things like this actually give them a bit of benefit because there is a spillover effect, because they've got plants, they've got subsidiaries, they've got their tentacles across the globe. If you take a leaf off them, what the smaller and the SME type of guys will have to also look at is, to a certain extent, diversify. Only way that we can mitigate risk to a certain extent is diversification. So diversification of markets in terms of sales, diversification of production in terms of territory. So, you are plugged into different supply chains in different places. Along with that, I think we need to move into higher grades of product, where there is further product development, where we move on the technology ladder upwards rather than being concentrated more on a commodity base.
How would these SME exporters actually strategize in the short, medium and long term, very briefly?
If it's a US-centric exporter, I think at the moment he is facing some serious uncertainty, right? So I think he needs to first be in the right mindset for him to strategize. So he needs to stabilize first to strategize afterwards. So I think in terms of his cash flows, he needs to be very comfortable. He needs to look at how his export container sales will get curtailed, if at all. He needs to have his chats with his banks, his suppliers, his external funding parties, and see how best that he can either curtail or sort of lean operations, that he can take it forward. And then once things are stabilized for him, then he him to think where he should move into. If he is to go into different markets in the sense of like market development, then where is the funding coming from? Is he to raise capital through bankrolling per se? Because most of these guys, Savithri, are bankrolled growth that we see. So is he to move out to investors coming in? So a lot of dynamics to play, but I think first stabilize, then you strategize on your path ahead.
Moving forward, what would be inevitable in global trade right now?
This is a phase where we see the rise of China, and a so-called decline of the US, right? You would see, because the reserve currency conflict is also coming up. In these situations, nations also creating their pacts with certain superpowers, right? So I think the inevitability is uncertainty. Uncertainty is mitigated through that certain diversification of markets, diversification of production, then moving up the ladder in terms of technology, where we move into high margin products, moving and plugging ourselves into different supplier chains, so that if we lose one due to one, then we have another one, right? Then getting the advantage of trade pacts that the government has built, lobbying for further trade pacts, so that the government also is pushed to the direction that SMEs, exporters are protected, right? So India is a lovely place if you look at it in that context, but it's a difficult consumer market to move in. Find out ways that you can franchising, JVs, multiple avenues, strategize. So I think uncertainty is the thing, and you come up with different mechanisms to mitigate the uncertainty.
If that's the case, right now, what is the most important priority for an SME exporter?
At this very moment, I think he needs to first find out whether he is comfortable with his cash flows and numbers for the next 24 months. Once that's done, I think then he is stable. Then from there, him to look at his growth plans from that point on. Because there is no point when he is uncertain and unstable in terms of its numbers, his reserves, looking at others, because it's going to create a ball of issues he will find it difficult to come out of, right? So first he gets his system stable. After 6 months, after 12 months, look at even dragging in investors, because technological JVs are very important for us to go out, because we may not have the right technology to penetrate some of these markets. So it's good that we partner JV with investors, retail and people who actually can give us that technology, learn through that, right? So I think, to answer your question very simply, right at this very moment, needs to be comfortable with the next 24 months in terms of where he is.
Here's a reminder that Kaleidoscope is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and like us for more.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Silly Life.